Welcome back to the Nerf Report. We got a great show lined up for you this week, filled with a ton of video game news. We got 6 brand new video games that dropped some super awesome trailers this week. Microsoft wants to redefine what it means to be an Xbox fan. PlayStation dropped a ton of cash on Kadokawa. Madden player ratings are apparently being used by real-life NFL teams. And seeing that it's a brand new week of gaming news, obviously, we have a brand new week of Nintendo Switch 2 rumors and leaks. All of this and so much more on this week's episode of the Nerf Report.
Can you see me?
Let's just film the video.
Zip it! The ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage is here!
Oh my god! Yes, negativity sells, and it sure as hell makes clicking your thumbnails a lot easier. But I, as a gamer, as a nerd, as a creator, I am so tired of being upset for clicks.
Are you listening?
Ho, 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 ho!
Strangers from distant lands and friends of old, you've been summoned here for a very special Christmas edition of the Nerf Report. We've been celebrating Christmas all month, but this is a Christmas episode, in case you missed it. We're very, very festive this year. I'll tell you, my daughter is very excited for Christmas. Santa called her today, and I thought she reacted the way you should as a toddler. She is so much in the Christmas spirit that it's hard not to get infected by it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna wear the Santa hat to come on the show this week, and she stopped me before I walked into the studio, and she's like, no, what are you doing? That's Santa's hat. That's not yours. You don't wear Santa's hat. And I'm like, yep, you're right. How dare I? She's asleep. We're filming while she's sleeping. That's why I'm able to wear this hat. Hey, we got a ton of gaming news to talk about, but I did want to take an opportunity to give some massive kudos to an individual. So we talked about the Game Awards so much last week. It was one of the greatest Game Awards we've had in recent memories, and we dove into all the games that got announced, but we got a cool Game Awards stat this week that I think definitely deserves to be mentioned. So Jeff Keighley mentioned over on X that the Game Awards this year, their viewership was up by 31% year over year, meaning that the Game Awards were streamed and watched by a total of 154 million people. And just to put that into comparison, last year's Super Bowl was watched by 123 million. So kudos to Jeff Keighley, who created the gaming version of the Super Bowl. I think that is incredible, and as a content creator and as someone who creates a show every single week, I can't even make fun of it, and I can't even be jealous. I mean, I did post a tweet. I was like, looks like ad rates are going up. Am I right, Jeff? But at the same time, I'm like, damn, man, you did it. Congrats. So kudos to Jeff. Kudos to the entire team who put on the Game Awards this year, and a lot of pressure for next year's show. I think that's kind of the one thing we have to talk about. Hey, also, before we jump into the show, a little bit of housekeeping. Today's episode of the Nerf Report is brought to you ad-free thanks to the Nerf Gaming News best friends and casual friends. You too can become a Nerf Gaming friend, casual or best, we don't judge. For the low price of $1.99 a month, you can help support independent games media and make this show possible, along with getting some super cool, awesome, exclusive content on the side, only available for members. And while we're at it, I did write down a few names that I want to thank this year. A big shout out to the Nerf Gaming News friends: Josh Aker, Kid Joken, Link TV, Big Bird, Bricklin, the Ratscast, and Palpatine Phil. This show could not be possible without you guys. You have bought film equipment, you've bought lights, you've bought technology, you've bought software, you bought AI technology to make what we do on a weekly basis here possible. So thank you all for supporting the show. And before we jump into the next story, obviously we got a brand new video game we need to talk about. This one is an action RPG pirate video game called Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And spoiler alert, it stars Samoa Joe.
All right. How the hell did I end up on this beach? I had no clue. What's more, the real head scratcher was, who was I? Your boy, Noah, saved my skin.
This can be just for until you get your memory back, but I want to go with you when you leave the island. And I don't want Dad to know either.
Bunch of wannabe swashbucklers, huh? That don't sound half bad. In 2 days since I woke up with not a trace of memory, I became captain of my very own pirate ship and set out to sea. What's their deal? They cosplayers or something?
They're from this place called Madlantis. Some island they say is a hideout for gangs and mafia.
Still can play at that game? We're turning this tub around! And the near endless adventures that awaited me led to an all-out war for treasures extraordinary.
With Bryce out of the picture, Atlantis is under new management. A bunch of shady organizations stepped in to run it. The biggest one is run by this old lady they call Queen Michelle.
At last we meet the famed Captain Majima and the crew of the Goro Maru.
Sure, there's all sorts of casinos and cat houses in Atlantis, but none of them earn like the Colosseum.
I am Pirate King Raymond Law. I commend you on a splendid first fight, Captain. Been a long time, Kyodai.
Thought I told you, stop calling me bro!
You just fine having amnesia the rest of your life. Weren't you a top Yakuza officer?
So what? Yakuza and pirates ain't that different from one another in the first place.
Xbox has decided to end their 2024 the same way they spent the entire year riding a roller coaster. Yeah, 2024 has been a very interesting year for Xbox. People I've seen writing it as like a pivot year. They're like, you can definitely tell that the platform's changing and trying to evolve. And I will say this, if the platform succeeds or fails, they will look back at the year 2024 and be like, that was the year. That was the most impactful year for Xbox. Like if Xbox proves that all their decisions were right and the platform succeeds in 3 to 5 years, they're going to look at all the changes that they made this year and be like, that was when it started. That's when Xbox became the dominant platform. But then if it fails, right? And I don't want it to fail, but if it does fail, I think on the same side, people are going to look back at this year and be like, you gave up on consoles. You gave up on exclusives. And we're going to hear those same people that are always in the comment section and be like, well, how are you going to sell a platform without exclusives? And it's like, those people are going to be proven right. So, this year's been wild. And, I wrote some notes here. I hope you guys don't mind me jumping into them. This year started off with the news that Xbox exclusives would be coming to rival platforms for Nintendo and PlayStation. And the list of games started off as just 4 games. You had Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Pentiment, and Hi-Fi Rush. And at the time, Xbox's Phil Spencer was like, guys, that's all that's happening. We're not having any other games. And then that grew into like, well, there's no red line in the sand. Any game could technically go to a rival platform. We're not really saying like this game can't go. And you might be wondering, well, like, why'd you change your tone? Well, Sea of Thieves, for example, came to PlayStation, and it went on to be one of the best-selling games of the year for PlayStation. I think it was like 2 months in a row inside the PlayStation Store. It was like the best-selling game on the platform. And you better believe that there are some suit-wearing individuals up in Microsoft and Xbox who saw Sea of Thieves perform so well, and they're like, how do you think Starfield would do? Better idea. What do you think Hellblade 2 will do? And then the other big news from this year, right? Xbox Game Pass had a big price increase. Specifically, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is kind of like the version of Game Pass Ultimate that if you're going to buy that one. That went from $16.99 a month to $19.99 a month. But then you had some positive stories. Xbox expanded their relationships with cloud gaming platforms. We saw the Xbox app appear on more devices and more hardware and software. So playing Xbox video games became a ton more accessible. Xbox also launched a brand new mid-generational refresh with like a digital console, and then they increased the hard drive size on the Xbox Series X. And then as far as games go, we saw one of the most solid years for Xbox with Hellblade 2, Stalker 2, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and Microsoft Flight Simulator all releasing in 2024. And again, I said this was a roller coaster of a year because, as you can imagine, we're going up, 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 and then just down. Xbox also announced a brand new ad campaign this year called This Is an Xbox, which for those of you who are so lucky enough to not be involved in the dirty, 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 deep, dark, disgusting world of speculation. You might be wondering, like, it's a commercial, what's the big deal? So the Xbox campaign was basically saying, like, anything can be an Xbox. Your phone can be an Xbox. Your tablet can be an Xbox. Your Chromebook can be an Xbox. Your smart TV, streaming stick, whatever you own, you don't need a console. You can play the games wherever you'd like them. On paper, that's a great ad, right? I think that expands so much. But it caused some of the Xbox loyals, specifically the console fans, to be like, why the hell did I buy a console? Why did I spend $600 on an Xbox console if I could just play it on my phone? Valid question. But again, a roller coaster, because you had so many highs, but you also had so many lows this year. And I really do agree that Xbox spent this year redefining, who or what Xbox is as a platform. And I think that a lot of people are just not paying attention to that. But that was this year. Let's talk about what happened this week. Because we had 3 Xbox stories that were pretty sizable that dropped this week. The first one was Outer Worlds 2. Right, this actually happened during the Game Awards. We got the announcement trailer and we got our debut trailer for the Outer Worlds 2. And we saw gameplay footage and the game looks great. It looks like everything that you loved about the first game, it's returning in the second game. And it dropped and everyone's like, cool, another Xbox exclusive coming out in 2025. Can't wait to play this one. Until, that is, PlayStation decided to upload the very same trailer for Outer Worlds 2 on the PlayStation YouTube channel, and it sure enough ended with the PS5 logo appearing, saying coming to PlayStation, and that same Xbox loyalist community who was so upset about consoles was like, what the actual hell is going on? Are all exclusives going to be coming to PlayStation? Why do I own an Xbox? And then adding fuel to the fire, Jez Corden of Windows Central wrote a really good article that discussed how moving forward, Xbox fans shouldn't expect exclusives to be like the norm. Specifically saying console exclusives for Xbox are going to be the exception, not the rule. And I think that that's clear. Like, if you're paying attention to anything Xbox is doing, that is extremely clear. How many times do these executives have to say, we want you to play Xbox games on the devices that you love, right? If the device that you love is a PlayStation, the games are going to be there. Right? If you love to play them on Xbox, hey, spoiler alert, the games are still going to be on Xbox. And I think really the biggest story of this all is 2024 for Xbox was not just a transition year. It was not only like them coming out of the cocoon to be a brand new butterfly. It was Xbox really saying, hey, the console wars are over. We're done trying to be a console. We're moving on to other things. And then you have Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, who was telling investors that the company is working on redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan. Following that up with a discussion about how Xbox is focusing on making sure Xbox games are available on whatever device you want. And look, I will play both sides here. There are 2 schools of thought. One, cool. Just like Office, just like Windows, just like any other software that Microsoft creates, it's available on whatever device you want. If you want to put Office on your iPhone, you can take Microsoft software, you can put it on there. If that's the future of Xbox video games and Xbox software is just kind of going to be, playable on any device that you own, but it's better on a Windows device, I'm all for that. But then the second school of thought is really like, for the platform warriors, this news is not what you are wanting to hear, because you're like, I invested in the Xbox ecosystem. I put 10, 15 plus years behind this platform only to see it become nothing. But at the same time, I don't think Xbox is getting enough credit for the fact that they're trying to transform as a platform. Xbox is trying to redefine who they are. In the past, Xbox has always been a third player when it comes to like PlayStation or Nintendo. They've never been able to establish themselves as a big player, as the place that you have to be. And with this new strategy, Xbox is really just meeting players where they are and ensuring that the games that they're coming out with, the games that they're spending millions of dollars to acquire, and the games that are going into development can be played by as many gamers as possible. Plus, I think we'd be extremely overreactive if we said that it's all over, because the last 2 years for Xbox have fucking slapped. And the devs behind the games that they've released on Xbox deserve to have their games played by as many players as possible. And look, I understand the fear and the frustration. I had my platform of choice taken away from me. I had my platform of choice completely disappear. But Xbox isn't going away. Sure, maybe we might see a future where there's one less console generation or something like that. But if anything, Xbox is trying to secure their future. Just like Nintendo, after the Wii U, looked at the gaming console market and said, we can't survive here. So they sailed off for bluer waters. They found a bluer ocean where they could define what their segment of the market is. Xbox, in many ways, is doing the very same thing. They are borrowing Nintendo's blue ocean strategy and saying, hey, PlayStation, Nintendo, you guys can have fun in the handhelds, you can have fun in the consoles. We're going to go be something else. And Xbox, I'm here for it. I am thrilled to see what you do in 2025. And even though it was kind of a roller coaster this year, 2025, I think is going to be a great year. I think if I had to make some predictions, I think you're going to be seeing Xbox expand massively upon what we've seen already. New devices for Xbox gaming apps. I think Hellblade 2 is coming to PlayStation 5. To me, that's an easy no-brainer switch. The first Hellblade was a PlayStation console exclusive, so the idea that Hellblade 2 comes to PlayStation 5 like a year or 2 years later, I think it makes total sense. We'll probably also get Call of Duty on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I will say this, Switch 2 announcement early 2025, I think we're going to be seeing a ton of Xbox on there. Whether it's Activision, whether it's Blizzard, whether it's Bethesda, or whether it's like Call of Duty. We are going to see so much Xbox on the Nintendo Switch, it's not even funny. The Xbox app, I think, is going to be expanding. I think you're going to see it on more devices. And playing an Xbox will become extremely democratized and easier and easier. And then as far as games go, I mean, think about it. Xbox's year has Avowed, Fable, Doom Dark Ages, South of Midnight, Arc 2, potentially Gears of War E-Day, and then the game everybody's getting next year, Grand Theft Auto 6. That is a killer year for Xbox fans. And look, I mean, I kind of hinted at it, and I already said this, but like personally, I'm on the boat that 2024 is going to be looked upon very positively in the future of Xbox, but 2025, I think 2025 has the potential to be a killer year for the platform. But hey, we're not done yet. We got a ton of gaming news to still dive into on this week's episode. But before we do that, we have a brand new video game to talk about. This one is a third-person sci-fi action RPG game that had a brand new trailer launch this week called Exodus.
Preparing to transfer now. This is your last chance to bail, June.
Do it. Loaded weapon is a hell of a way to greet your new partner.
So you're June.
We're burning time. Now that we're all best of friends, let's make each other rich.
I'm not just here to look pretty. I've got away with celestial tech.
I see a lot of potential in this new partnership.
Let me light the way for you.
Target acquired. Many thanks again for your help. You should have been honest.
This place is forbidden. The price is death.
That's what it means to be a traveler.
Stalker 2 is having an incredible launch, and the amount of success surrounding this game is fantastic, and I genuinely hope it continues. And if you guys aren't aware, Stalker 2 is a first-person shooter survivor horror game, and what makes this special is it's the first Stalker video game in 15 years. And don't just take my word for it, because this game has been getting incredible reviews. Eurogamer gave the game a 3 out of 5. IGN gave it an 8 out of 10. PC Gamer gave Stalker 2 an 83 out of 100. And Shack News, which I can only assume is a website ran by Shaquille O'Neal. Anyway, Shack News gave Stalker 2 an 8 out of 10. And like I said, the game is doing very well. 2 days after launch, it was announced that the game had already sold 1 million copies. And this week, over a month since the game has launched, the game has already sold enough copies to make it profitable, according to the developer. And the wild part of this story is that this game almost never happened. Get this, Stalker 2 was originally set to launch in 2012, but it got canceled. Ultimately, it popped back up in 2018 and was set to release in 2022, but due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, development was put on hold due to the majority of the studio being based in Ukraine. Even though their country was at war, the studio continued development, releasing the game in 2024. And when a game is successful, I think we should celebrate it. But when you look at a game like that and you see that lens or that narrative of almost 12 years of on-again, off-again development, an invasion, a war that tears apart your studio. There were developers at this studio who were fighting in the war. And somehow, after all of that, the studio is still able to put out a solid game that resonates with users and is seeing incredible success. And I mean, I hate to sound like a romantic here, but I genuinely love hearing stories about this in the gaming industry. And look, it's hard not to be biased when you hear something like this, because you see the story and you see all the hard work that went into the game, and you're like, I don't care what the game is. It might be a 2 out of 10, but the game's gonna be a 10 out of 10 because of the story behind it. So anyway, Stalker 2, it's available right now. It's on sale as well for the holiday season. I highly recommend you check it out. And kudos to the team over at GSC Game World who created this fantastic experience. I hope and wish you guys success and a quick end to the war so you guys can return home soon. But anyway, enough about Stalker 2. Let's talk about another game that's coming out very soon. This is a tactical extraction first-person shooter game called Exfil.
The objective is simple. Find the crash site. Retrieve the intel. Opposition forces are present in the area. We're getting close. Crash site located. We have found the helicopter extracting intel. Get to the extraction zone. Location is on your GPS. On our way. Engaging. Protect the package.
After weeks of speculation, PlayStation and From Software parent company Kadokawa have just announced a brand new partnership. Yeah, looking back on it, this was kind of one of those will they or won't they stories from this year, because we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, PlayStation definitely wanted to give them a kiss, and Kadokawa internally was like, I really hope PlayStation kisses me. But then they all got quiet and they fell apart. And like any romantic movie, we were just sitting there being like, are they not gonna kiss? All of this sexual tension and they're not gonna do anything? Just kiss already. And then you know what happened? Like any true rom-com, the third act came. And the two individuals realized how stupid they were being, and they finally kissed. However, in this story, kissing is more like spending $320 million US, because that's exactly what PlayStation did. Definitely worth noting, this isn't a buyout. Essentially what Sony is doing is they have spent $320 million US or 50 billion yen to enter a brand new alliance with Kadokawa. Sony will reportedly now be the largest shareholder of Kadokawa, holding 10% of the company's shares. And you might be wondering, like, I've never heard of this studio before. What's the big deal? Well, Kadokawa, it has their hands in a lot of different things. Specifically, the one of note is From Software, the studio who created Elden Ring, Dark Souls, and Armored Core, some of the most impactful PlayStation video games of the last generation. And look, I laughed when I heard the word alliance because it reminded me of like Jim Halpert and Dwight Schrute, where he's like, would you like to get into an alliance with me? And the answer is always, of course I will. But we did get some details about like how the alliance between Sony and Kadokawa will work. According to a press release, Kadokawa and Sony historically have collaborated on various projects. And through this capital and business alliance, intend to further strengthen our collaboration to maximize both companies' IP value globally and facilitate wider and deeper collaboration, such as potential joint investments in the content field, joint discovery of new creators, and joint promotion of further media mixes of both companies' IP. In the future, the two companies plan to discuss specific initiatives for collaboration, such as initiatives to adapt Kadokawa's IP into live-action films and TV dramas globally, co-produce anime works, expand global distribution of Kadokawa's anime works through the Sony Group, further expand publishing of Kadokawa's games, and develop human resources to promote and expand virtual production. A lot to take away from that press release, but the key things that I noted: live-action adaptations, co-produce and distribute anime, and Sony will expand promotion of the video games for other platforms. Look, man, live action adaptions, I mean, immediately my mind goes to like Elden Ring, the movie. But I also think like, because we are talking about like George R.R. Martin, that Elden Ring, the TV series, could have some legs. Dark Souls, the movie, makes sense. Oh, an Armored Core movie. Yeah, I'm in for that. Now, math was never my strong suit, but $320 million for 10%. I mean, what does that give us? A $25 billion valuation? I might be off there because I don't think they bought the full 10%. But either way, massive valuation for Kadokawa. And look, Sony gets to secure the future of their IP. I think that's a huge one. You don't have to worry about Dark Souls or Armored Core or Elden Ring. They can ensure that it's on their platform for the foreseeable future. So that's a big deal. But hey, we've talked about Elden Ring a ton over the last 3 weeks. Let's dive into a brand new game. This one is a VR first-person shooter game that puts you into the role of an action hero titled, you guessed it, Action Hero.
Action! Cut! Raptors! More teeth! A great actor takes it slow. Analyze the scene, then act. Find your rhythm and look good doing it. Show me what you can really do! Who left that there?
The New York Jets have reportedly let Madden player ratings impact real-life potential trades and acquisitions. Yeah, if that does not read like the script from Moneyball with Brad Pitt, I don't know what does. Because that literally just sounds like we got a bunch of nerds in the back room that are like, we can outsmart the system. They're giving us the player ratings, guys. We can build the ultimate team off of the player ratings. No one else is doing this. And look, New York Jets fans, don't hate on me. I might live in Texas, but I'm a lifelong New York Jets fan. And I'm allowed to say that. Because if anything, if you look at this last year, it totally makes sense, right? We have one of the best rosters on paper of all time. It is stacked, but somehow it's not performing. Like, you take this roster and you put it into NFL Madden, and I think you're in like the low 90s. I think it's that good you have so much talent on the team, it's just not working. So it's like, if you're telling me that that's the issue, that the Jets like built the team in Madden, and they're like, this is the team that's going to take us to the Super Bowl. We're going to take Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to lead it. No, like that makes sense. It adds up. I don't even need to read the article. Now, this story comes from Diana Rossini over at The Athletic, who reports that the New York Jets owner Woody Johnson nixed an off-season trade for Jerry Jeudy, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name, due to his low Madden player rating. Jesus Christ. The article goes on to say Douglas told the Broncos that Johnson didn't want to make the trade because the owner felt Judy's player rating in Madden NFL, the popular video game, wasn't high enough, according to multiple league sources. The Broncos ultimately traded the receiver to the Cleveland Browns, and last Sunday, Jeudy crossed the 1,000-yard receiving mark for the first time. Shut the hell up. As a Jet fan, that last line, you're just taking the knife and just sticking it right in there. Takeaway here, Woody Johnson, apparently a big gamer. Huge. In fact, I didn't really take a note, but it was also suggested in here that Woody Johnson didn't want another player because their awareness rating was so low in the game. And it's just wild. Like, it's wild to me. But, like, I will say, look, if this was a completely different story and the Jets were undefeated this year, and they were winning every single game, and they were Super Bowl bound, and everyone's like, dude, no one's going to be able to beat this team in the playoffs, this would be a wild different story. People would be like, how come no other team's using Madden? Why is nobody else doing this? Like, legit, every team in the NFL would be like having a room of just PlayStation and Xbox consoles being like, we can build the best team. It's been in front of us the whole time. Now, to give the Jets credit, a team representative did comment on the story to CBS Sports, and they said, it's used as a reference point. It's not determinative. So, you're telling me that it's true. All right. Can't wait for the Jets to get to the Super Bowl. But hey, the Jets getting to the Super Bowl is very, very far away. Let's talk about something that's coming very soon. The next game that we have to talk about, a top-down story-driven action shooter called Memory Lost.
Every time I change bodies, I see death, madness, fear. Why am I doing this? To survive. To find the way out. To feel alive. I'm just a collection of memories. And now my memory is lost.
The Switch 2 will eliminate stick drift and have a more powerful dock. You know, in the intro to this week's show, I made a joke saying, like, we got to talk about new stuff like we do every week, but it legit feels like that. Like, the closer we get to the Switch 2 coming out, I feel like every show is becoming dominated with Switch 2 news. And this week's story comes from Reddit user Next Handheld, who claims that they have seen and touched a final retail unit of the Switch 2, and they promise to share proof on Christmas. You gotta be kidding me. Is this where we are? Is this really where we are with the Switch 2 right now? It's like someone posts on the internet, they're like, I've seen it, I've touched it, and I have proof. Like, this is sounding less and less like a Switch 2 story, more like a prepubescent junior high kid in the locker room who's like, dude, I not only saw them, but I touched them. Now, to this Reddit user's credit, I mean, a lot of people have tried to debunk this and they come back and they're like, nah, this is actually pretty legit. In fact, the moderation team over on Reddit reached out and reviewed the info, and they all agreed to, like, leave the post up. They're like, nah, this is legit. We're not going to pull this down. The Verge's Sean Hollister also reached out to Next Handheld on Reddit, and saw photos firsthand, and he was like, nope, this is legit. So as far as this goes, this is probably one of the closest accurate leaks that we've gotten in recent weeks. So just to break down kind of some key points that they're saying in the comment section, the new Nintendo console will be called the Switch 2. The newly discovered button that's next to the home button will indeed be a C button. The dock will have curved edges on the back, and the dock will not cover the front of the screen completely, and it will support 4K. Mario Kart 9 is likely to be a launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2. The device isn't heavy, it's lighter than the original, along with being slightly thinner than the original Switch. The Joy-Cons will have magnetic connectors that also serve as buttons. The Joy-Cons will feature a new functionality that will be announced by Nintendo prior to launch. The Switch 2 will launch with 3 models. One will be a gray version similar to the OG Switch. There is also a white model and a third model that will be themed after a game, likely to be the Mario Kart 9. The Joy-Con joysticks will feature Hall effect, so stick drift should be eliminated this generation. And the Switch 2 is slightly bigger. The screen is similar to the size of a Steam Deck. Visually, the main differences will be the Joy-Con release button on the back of the device. The device will still have a bezel, so the screen will not go from edge to edge, and the device will have a U-shaped kickstand. And the last bit of news that Next Handheld shared was that Nintendo is still targeting a mid-March release date. All right, a lot of news there, but let's just break down a couple of those. Mario Kart 9 makes sense. That game sells incredibly well no matter what platform you put it on. Plus, we've already seen Switch 2 steering wheels kind of come on the market, so I have to assume that that rumor's 100% correct. Switch 2 name, I mean, it makes sense. They want to keep the branding over at Nintendo. I did like the idea of the Super Nintendo Switch. I thought that was a really cool concept, but obviously people know what a Switch is. Saying Switch 2 to the market, that makes sense of what it's going to be. The return of the C button. My God, I did not think I would see that on the next Switch. I've always liked the C button, and I'm really interested to see kind of what that adds to Switch gameplay. Goodbye stick drift. Holy hell, that might be the biggest takeaway from this. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it can do 4K. No, stick drift is gone. They're going to be Hall effect on the joysticks. I think that is definitely something that needs to be celebrated. The dock doing 4K, that's also a big takeaway from this. And then finally, a March release. I've got to assume we're seeing this in January, and CES is coming up. So I would actually put money on the fact that Nintendo debuts this thing at CES. But obviously, a lot of this is rumors and speculation. Please take it with a grain of salt until Nintendo officially announces it, which theoretically is less than a month away. So we'll definitely be paying close attention. But until then, we do have one more game to introduce you to until the show is over. This one is a 2D side-scrolling action-adventure game called Leifs Adventure Netherworld Hero.
Who cares? Show me gameplay!
Prepare for an indie game so fully packed with cool, amazing stuff, it almost drove me insane making it. An adventure about 2 very unlikely heroes. It's a story-driven, co-op action-adventure game inspired by Nordic folklore.
But it's a cutscene.
Explore 2-dimensional worlds so big they would not fit in a 3rd dimension.
Wait, what?
Use weapons of fallen enemies to kill even bigger ones.
Ooh, carnage!
Face terrifying bosses, including 5 secret ones you'll probably never find without a guide.
Ha! Pro gamer.
Play solo if you're a lone wolf, or co-op if you need that kind of support. We've got it all. Different armor sets, secret treasures, potions, weapons, bosses, rail carts, intriguing side quests like looking for pigs, statue crafting, and solving murder mysteries.
Okay, but can I pet the dog?
Yes, of course. That's what took me 7 years to finish. And by the way, did I mention Leifs Adventure Netherworld Hero is available now on Nintendo Switch, PS5, and Steam. So go get it.
Let's smash some skulls and pet the dog.
A remake of Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion is apparently about to release. Yeah, This story dropped this week from Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming, who reports that industry leaker Xtasys has not only confirmed that a remake is real, but that the game could be announced at an Xbox Direct in January and released sometime in 2025. Now, to be fair, this really isn't like new news, because back in 2023, it was reported that Virtuos Games was developing the remake from a former employee who was clearly disgruntled. And the game was also mentioned during the FTC investigation of Microsoft, where they were acquiring Activision Blizzard, and it was revealed that the studio was working on the game. And if you're not aware, Elder Scrolls 4, maybe one of the most impactful games in the history of games. The game originally released back in 2006. It's an action role-playing game, and it's critically acclaimed. It's literally considered one of the best games of that generation, and if this remake does get announced, this is not only a huge win for gamers, but I think it's also a huge win for RPG fans. Like Avowed, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, and Fable all in 1 year. 2025 is going to be a wild year. Wild year. 2024, great year. I thought it was a great year for gaming. 2025, Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, it's going to be a killer year. But anyway, that's it for this week's show. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and thanks for watching. We're headed into Christmas. We'll try to have as much gaming news as we can next week, but obviously it's going to be a slow week. So if I don't see you before then, have a fantastic Christmas. Thank you guys for your support. And until next time, Merry Christmas.